Hey guys, welcome to After the Bars. I am Sam, and this is a new show we're going to call Wild Ones. Do we have a wild one to start off the series? Today, Linda Stermer got sentenced after her retrial. Linda Stermer was accused of setting her husband on fire, setting her house on fire along with her husband, and so much what happened before that and after that. Basically, in January 2007, Todd Stermer was found dead in the front yard of his home, engulfed in flames, and shortly after run over by the family van. His wife, Linda Stermer, claimed that it was an accident, but now a Michigan jury says otherwise. According to testimony, Todd had just discovered that Linda was having an affair. That discovery allegedly sparked a violent argument, and one son, Trevor, called the worst they'd ever witnessed. Linda Stermer was first convicted in 2010 and sentenced to life. But in 2018, she was released when a court found prosecutorial misconduct and effective defense counsel. Guys, welcome to Wild Ones. It's going to be a wild one. We're going to go to her sentencing today, and I can't wait. Okay, also, her attorney still claims she's innocent, saying Todd's oil lamp may have caused the fire and that she only ran him over while trying to get help. Was the fire intentional? And if so, did Linda set it? Let's go to the sentencing. If I can find it.
The court calls the case of People versus Linda Stermer, 09-16654. Counsel, state your appearances for the record, please.
Susan Zaggerby for the People, Your Honor.
Morning, Your Honor. Jake Miller for the People. Morning, Your Honor. Wolf Mueller for the defendant.
Ross Kelly for the defendant, Your Honor.
Thank you. And ma'am, you are Linda Stermer?
This just
And
happened
you are here
today
today with your attorneys.
May
Have you had a
19th,
full and complete
22.
opportunity to consult with them? And are you prepared for your sentencing today?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Counsel, there's no sentence guidelines in this matter due to the conviction offense. But any additions, corrections, or deletions requested in the PSI? Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Honor. We have noticed that there is on page 4 of the pre-sentence report, numerical number 2, that on the morning of January the 7th, a few hours prior to the fire at residence, Linda Stermer went to Marathon Station, 437 West Street, Joseph Street, Lawrence, and pumped gasoline in a plastic can. It is the testimony that is incorrect, and that we would question and challenge that there is no evidence that gasoline was being pumped into a plastic can.
Thank you. Ms. Zeiderbean or Mr. Blair?
Thank you, Your Honor. We talked about this a little bit in chambers. I believe it's appropriate to amend it to say that the gasoline was being pumped into the hatch, the rear hatch of the vehicle. There was no testimony about any particular type of can.
Can't hear what she's saying, really. Let's get to
Thank
the...
you. Ms. Christianti, I'm thinking of this. Counsel, let me know if this satisfies the concern.
Here we go.
A few hours prior to the fire at her residence, Linda Stermer went to the Marathon Station, 437 West St. Joseph Street, Lawrence, period. Then this next sentence would say, a witness saw her pump gasoline into the back hatch of the vehicle, period. And then it would state Linda paid for the gasoline at the pump. Do you see that, Ms. Christianti?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does that work for the defense, those modifications and the prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Honor, on page 8.
They're just doing like pre-sentence memorandums and sentencing. I've been there, done that.
It's failing in reference
Let's
to
get to the sentencing portion.
by the attorneys.
Defendant has the benefit of retained attorney Wolfgang Mueller. We could add.
Sorry, guys, just gonna
Any other requested changes? That's it? Oh, I'm sorry.
let's get her to the smoke show, as 23-1 would say.
Okay. Do we have victims to speak or victim representatives to speak? I think we'll do that at this time.
Yes, we accept, Your Honor.
Yeah, let's listen to some of the victims. This is a horrible crime. Horrible crime. Looking for some of the details right now. Again, this is a retrial. She lost again a retrial. I can't even believe that 8 years later she got another trial but there was prosecutorial misconduct. So I do understand that's our justice system.
Maggie, is there Kleenex there, just in case? Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm not sure I can get through this. I'm going to try. It's very short.
Take your time.
I love and miss Todd every day. He was a wonderful son, brother, and father to his 3 sons. It breaks my heart that he didn't live to see what wonderful young men and fathers his sons have become. He would have loved being a grandfather to his 6 grandchildren. Every time I see them, I see him smiling.
Boy, she was really crying. Did you see the tears falling from her eyes?
Do you want to sit down, ma'am? Yeah, we can pull up a seat for you. Is that better? Do you want to try to finish what you were That's it? Okay. Thank you.
Todd is my brother, and I've been really conflicted about whether I wanted to speak today on his behalf or on all our family's behalf, because nothing I say is really ever going to change. Todd's still going to be gone. Our lives are still never going to feel complete again. The role of him not being here will never be filled. But not speaking or not sharing some of my outrage and pain over his death, not correcting the image that has been painted of Todd, doesn't seem right either.
Can't believe what this guy did.
When Linda was let out of prison in 2018, our whole family was in shock. It was
What this
incomprehensible
lady
to
did
us.
to this guy.
These last 6 years that Linda has been out living her life shook my faith in the law and in justice and in all that is right. It's been so hard having to listen to her lies and having her play the victim in this. And every single time I hear her speak, I just think, who's checking that? Who knows? Who's paying attention to what is real and what is not real? Because she's lied so much that it's hard to keep straight.
Look at the girl next to her just
I
nodding her
think
head.
if anyone's
I wonder
learned
who that
anything at
is.
this point is that Linda is incapable of telling the truth. So I'd
It's
like people to know
yeah.
that my brother, Todd, was not an awful person. He was definitely not the abusive control freak Linda and her lawyers tried to make him out to be. He was a good guy. He had a great sense of humor. He was kind and funny. He cared about his community and his family and his friends. He was always there if you needed him. They say if you want to know what a guy is really like, watch how he treats his mother. There wasn't anything Todd wouldn't do for Mom. He fully intended to build Mom a place on his property when she was older so he could take care of her. And I have no doubt that he would have done that. It was Todd who showed up with his truck on a Saturday when it was pouring rain to help me move. One of those washout pouring rain days that it's just not going to let up. Had a whole house to move. Todd drove in from Lawrence. I was delighted to find out he was the only one there to help me move. And He just grinned and said, "I hope you're buying lunch." You could count on Todd. He was loyal and protective of those he loved. And he was gifted at making the ordinary fun. He was so creative and imaginative. He loved the holidays. He loved Halloween and Christmas. He made them all special for everyone. But just the everyday times that we spent with Todd were just as fun, just as great. Todd liked the classics. He liked Elvis Presley and Johnny Mathis and Randy Travis. He wasn't afraid to show emotions or cry, but he was one of the toughest people I knew. And it would have broke his heart to know that his death ended his son's childhoods and altered all our lives forever. One of the biggest heartbreaks for me to this day is that it's difficult to talk about Todd without talking about how he died. And there is no question that he suffered an excruciating and painful death.
I think she's looking at
There
him.
wasn't one person who was there that day who didn't have a hard time talking about his injuries. I can't help but think about what Todd
Same him.
must have been feeling that day he died. What a Herculean effort it took for him to escape that house, to put out the fire engulfing his body, only to have her deliberately run over him with that man. And still he hung on. He was that tough. He was trying so hard to live. And it absolutely kills me to know that hers was probably the last face he saw in this world. Linda's an evil person. She deserves no one's mercy. She should never have been given another trial or let out of prison to start with. But now that she has been found guilty twice of this crime, I hope she will finally go to prison for the rest of her life, and we can be done with her. She doesn't deserve the hope of ever being free again. And while I'm normally a compassionate person, I have zero forgiveness in my heart for Linda. And I hope when death comes for her, I hope it is as painful and as agonizing as the one you put Todd through. You deserve it.
Yeah.
You're an awful human being.
Tell her she is awful human being. Even her own kids have testified against her.
I just have a short statement from myself, and then I also have a statement from my sister Kathy, who cannot be here today, but asked me to read her statement. My statement's simple. This weekend, rest assured, we're going to be celebrating the holiday in Todd's memory. You'll be in prison. My sister Kathy's statement is such. The picture that she's referring to is on the right with her daughter. This picture was taken the last time I and my two children, then ages 4 and 2, saw my brother Todd alive. It was August of 2006. We were having a family dinner with Todd and his 3 boys and some other family members. We had a wonderful time. There was lots of laughter, silliness, which was usual when Todd was around. Todd was always a favorite with the kids, and my 2 kids adored their Uncle Todd. I think that this is because he had such joy of life and remained in touch with his inner child his whole life. I miss my brother. I think of him every day, and of all we lost when he was taken from our lives so brutally and so unnecessarily. My life and my children's lives are immensely poor for his loss, as are the lives of all his many friends and family members, but especially his 3 children, his boys. They lost their dad as teenagers and have had to go through the difficult years of early adulthood without him there to help guide them. They have grown into adults that I know their father would be proud of. I see Todd in each one of them, especially in their love and their prioritization for their children. We all lost so much when Todd was taken from us, but we have at least some memories of him to help us sustain us. I feel the worst and the sorriest for his grandchildren, who never knew, nor will they ever get to know, their grandfather, who would have adored them. Every time I am blessed with the chance to spend time with Todd's grandchildren, I can't help but feel sad that he never got a chance to meet them and to get to know him. I know he would have been a daily presence and a positive influence in their lives. Todd's death has left a giant hole in my heart and our family. But knowing that the person responsible for taking his life will spend the rest of her life in prison will help us find some peace and some level of closure. When you take into account all the people in whose lives have been made less by this untimely death, 2 life sentences don't seem enough. It's a beginning.
That means she's going to have to do life,
but it's not enough.
die, come back
For the
to
past
life.
6 years,
with the next sentence.
we have had to live with the emotional and mental stress and pain that she was out of prison. She never should have been there.
Man, that's had to have been rough.
No,
Okay, let's get to the smoke show.
Fact that this court has one and one.
Wish to say on behalf of your client before I impose sentence?
Here we go.
Your Honor, I would like to say that no matter what I can say, no matter what's been said, the fact that this court has one and one duty only under the legislature, that is to impose the sentence that's been mandated by the Michigan State Legislature. And my client, our client, is here to accept the court's imposition of that sentence, and we will move on from that point on.
Thank you. And Mr. Mueller, nothing?
I don't think, Your Honor. Thank
Okay.
you.
Ms. Stermer, anything you wish to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sure, it's going to be lies.
I came to this court filled with hope. Hope that the questions which had been unanswered for so long would finally be answered. That this would finally be proven to all that the tragedy that took Todd from our lives was an accident and not a crime. Today, while I stand before you, innocent and wrongfully convicted, I am prepared for the battle ahead. My husband, my
He had
family,
gasoline on his socks.
my daughters,
He poured on him and his
friends,
on
and
his
the legal team
clothes.
remain confident that this conviction will also be overturned.
Thank you. Ms. Seiderbean or Mr. Player?
Thank you, Your Honor. This family has waited years for their questions to also be answered. And the questions have been answered, Your Honor, by 2 different juries. We have had 24 people that have now said unanimously that Linda Stermer killed Todd. The questions are answered. I had the pleasure of getting to know this family over the last several years. And it was ups and downs, let me tell you, because they didn't understand. They didn't understand why she was out. They didn't understand why we were going to trial a second time. They didn't understand why these pictures couldn't be up at trial. And they didn't understand why they had to listen to all the defendants' lies about their loved one the entire trial. And then we couldn't say anything. We couldn't say anything. Todd was portrayed in very unfavorable terms through Linda's words. And I promised the family that today was about Todd. That's why these pictures are up here. It's to remember the Todd that is with his children, loving his children, smiling, loving his grandmother, loving his family. That's the Todd that I got to hear about for all of these years that could not be portrayed to this court. It could not be portrayed to the media. And so that's what today is about. It is the celebration of Todd. Now that 2 juries have found her guilty, Your Honor, we understand we're not arguing for any particular sentence, as we know what the sentence is all going to be. But we really just wanted to take this opportunity to be able to celebrate his life. His boys are remarkable. I've spent a lot of time with them. Their pain is deep. Their pain is deep. The wives that I got to meet of the boys are so supportive and loving and strong, but yet they're supporting a broken men who lost a mother and a father, and who are now then in this role of raising their own families, finding their own way in life, and raising their children without the help of their father. And the person they used to call mom, now they call Linda. I just asked this court to remember in its elocution if it would also talk about Todd and the things that they heard today, because I think that's what the family would like. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, to the family members, first off, I do hope that you have the opportunity for closure. Celebrate as much as you can celebrate something like this, but I hope that you do spend this weekend, as you talked about, honoring Todd. And again, hopefully today will bring you some level of closure. Ms. Stermer, you've now had the process that was due to you. You had an extraordinary team of attorneys working on your behalf, not for months, but for years. With ardor, they filed motions and pursued what appeared to be every avenue on your behalf. They brought in experts to undermine and contradict the testimony of the prosecution's experts and to bolster the defense theory of the case. You also had this time around a new prosecution team in this trial and in the years leading up to this trial. From this court's perspective, this prosecution was diligent, thorough, and zealous, but they also played by the rules and worked under the mantra of seeking justice, not just a conviction. All this to say that I am confident, Ms. Stermer, that you received a fair trial. Murder is by its nature a monstrous deed, but the one you've committed is even more gruesome than most. You lit your husband on fire and burned him alive. When he made it out of the house and you had a chance to reconsider your actions, you instead doubled down and ran him over with your car.
Jesus.
I cannot fathom the
That's so
suffering
crazy.
he endured in his last moments of life. And I cannot fathom the damage you've inflicted on Todd's family, his mother, his siblings, now your grown children, his
Evil
grown
woman.
children. You lured them out of the house using one of your many labyrinths of lies. They went to the mall and movie at your request, thinking you'd be discussing divorce details with your victim. And you didn't even allow them to say their customary goodbye to their father before
He
you
found
murdered
out the
him.
night before she
Now
murdered
they
him.
live with not only the
that she was
murder of
having
their
an
father
affair.
at the hands of their mother, but the fact that had you not convinced them to leave, you may not have had your window, or at least on that date, to commit your heinous acts. Their testimony was clearly difficult, but it was compelling. Your sons displayed on the stand the courage and strength of character often associated with those who have endured significant trauma. I use the word sons loosely, as they clearly do not recognize you as their mother anymore. Suffice it to say that if there was ever a list of all of the things parents should do on behalf of their children, murdering the other parent would not be on that list. This court is to balance punishment, protection, deterrence, and rehabilitation where possible. I'm hopeful you will engage in programming when returned to the Department of Corrections, programming which may or may not provide some measure of rehabilitation, but only a sentence of life without the possibility of parole can protect others from you and deter others from committing like conduct. And only a sentence of life without the possibility of parole can properly punish you for the heinous acts you committed in burning your husband alive and in leaving your children with that imprint forever. The sentence of the court is life without the possibility of parole. Credit is 3,367 days. I'm showing that mandatory financials have already been paid, so I won't reorder those. And counsel, the judgment will this time state one first-degree murder conviction with the 2 alternative theories. Is that satisfactory to counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's stated like which one.
I'll just put first degree and then put under 2 alternative theories, either felony murder or premeditated.
All theories are bad.
Ms. Stermer, you have a right to appeal the conviction and sentence. You have a right to ask for a court-appointed attorney to
That
assist
was
you in
it,
that
guys. She got life
appeal
without
if you're
parole.
financially unable to afford your own. If you do wish to make the request, you need to fill out the paperwork we're getting you now and turn it.
Well, that's it, guys. She got found guilty, 2 trials, 18 years, 1 horrific death. Justice finally delivered, but for the Stermer family, the scars will never fully heal. Thanks, guys, for watching After the Bars. This is the new show called The Wild Ones, and it's been a wild one. You guys all take care. I'll see you soon.
Oh wow, well this has been a journey. This has been a journey for us, like a journey through from legal troubles to mental health issues to my own struggles to your struggles, sharing your struggles with me. I appreciate you and thank you for that. Yeah. Good night, good morning to the listeners of the After the Bars shows, from Morning Mayhem or the Random Nighttime show. Good night, good morning to the listeners of the After the Bars shows, from the Morning Mayhem shows or the Random Nighttime shows. My people, from recovery to legal trials, hoping unity is what we're speaking about. It's a long way to the promised land. All my people understand that this land is our land. One nation under God and ain't a thing changed. This ain't that and that ain't this, not the same thing. I'm about to bust a move, this a new groove, kinda like a mission. Not the Blues Brothers, but good night, good morning, make a list.